Well, a major escalation in the West Asia crisis, strikes and counter-strikes between Israel and Lebanon. This, of course, as Hezbollah has targeted the area near an Israeli intelligence base, and Israel has responded by capturing the Hezbollah commander as well. This seems like a major escalation as West Asia remains on edge. Joining me on the show this evening, Gauri Dwivedi is joining us from Philadelphia. She's covering the US elections there. Also with us, Iran Singer. Thanks both very much for being with us. Iran is joining us from Haifa. Going across to you first, Iran, what more details you can share with us? This seems like a major escalation, and this seems also like a strategic area that was targeted by Hezbollah.
Yes, Hezbollah is still trying to hit strategic targets all through the latest days, especially army targets, intelligence armed targets. But as it seems, Israel is succeeding in intercepting these rockets. Most of the rockets that are being launched on a daily basis, we're talking about hundreds of rockets every day, are intercepted. But still, you can hear the alarms going on and off. I'm located in Haifa. The place I'm standing right now was witnessing a very harsh day here in the northern part of Israel. We had to go to the shelters 5 or 6 times because of the sirens. They are sending not only rockets. Hezbollah is trying to hit the northern part of Israel and also the central part of Israel by drones that are carrying explosives. But fortunately, the Israeli Air Force is intercepting or is managing to intercept most of these rockets. Now, as we understand, or according to some of the Israeli sources, these are crucial days because the international community, especially the United States and the French government, are making lots of efforts to bring to some kind of a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. And they're working very hard. Everybody knows that it's not going to happen before the elections in the United States. And so as long as it does not happen, as long as we do not see any solution, we will keep, unfortunately, to see more and more escalation on this front.
Absolutely. In fact, Gauri Dwivedi is also joining us from Philadelphia now. Gauri has been covering the US elections from the ground. Gauri, these elections are taking place at a very critical time geopolitically. The US, of course, is very much involved in the conflict in the sense that there have been efforts made from the US for a potential ceasefire as well. But how is the US administration looking at it right now? There's, of course, the US government is in a flux as well. But what are the larger geopolitical ramifications of these US elections, particularly keeping in mind the war?
Vedant, 2 aspects of this. Very important that you mentioned that this war, its impact on US elections and the result and the outcome of the US election, how will that play out in Middle East? So both of them are very important aspects. Just to tell our viewers that one of the states where it's likely to have a major impact is Michigan. That is one of the swing states, essentially a state that boasts a Republican and Democrat and doesn't really have a history of voting on one side of the political spectrum. So which way Michigan will vote will have a huge ramification on who actually wins the US presidential election. Michigan also has one of the largest concentration of Arab American voters, one that Trump has been able to woo successfully, if I may say so, in the last couple of weeks. In fact, he was there in Michigan, and it is it's extraordinary, ironic, one may say, that someone who actually came up with the ban when he was the president, specifically targeting Muslim countries, has now been able to penetrate into that same vote bank, saying that if he was the president, he would not have allowed the war to go on the way it is going, and he would have solved the entire matrix much sooner. An argument that has actually found resonance with a lot of voters there. Some of the studies indicate, Vedant, that in that space, in Michigan, amongst the Arab American vote base, Trump has been able to successfully make this argument, and several prominent leaders, in fact, including one from Dearborn Heights, whose mayor is a Lebanese American, is now endorsing Trump. So that tells you how important what is happening in Middle East is for the US presidential election. There are some reports that this may have impact on some of the other aspects and some of the other swing states, but most crucial will be as far as Michigan is concerned. Now let's flip the other side of it, at what happens after the outcome is announced. How will that play out in the Middle East? Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have very strongly supported and said that they will back Israel's right to defend itself in the wake of any terror attack. But what Donald Trump has been able to say is, and has been reiterating on multiple occasions, is that if he becomes the president, he will ensure this war stops. And if he does come to office, and if he makes good on the promise that he has made, that has a huge ramification on how the Middle East may shape up post-November 6th. As for Kamala Harris, she's also said that she'll try and solve this puzzle, but the argument that she's been making hasn't got resonance with the voters on ground, particularly, as I say, Michigan. So what's happening in the Middle East has a very strong impact on the US election, more so in Michigan.
Gauri, thanks very much for joining us with a very important perspective there. Iran, thanks very much also for joining us with what's playing out on the ground. So multiple strikes today in Tel Aviv, certainly extremely concerning. This has now expanded to a multi-front war, a larger regional conflict certainly, and the US elections also taking place in this crucial geopolitical time as well.